What's up guys, my name is Ace, and it looks like they are making some adjustments for Warzone 2 before launch compared to the build that myself and other creators got to play at the Call of Duty Next event. After experiencing that gameplay for ourselves and then sharing it with the wider community, there was quite a bit of backlash in regards to many of the changes that they made. And it looks like, based on some leaks from Metaphor, they are already addressing a lot of those complaints that people had based on what we saw. And let's just dive right into his tweet here. It was fairly cryptic, but thankfully somebody translated it, and then Metaphor effectively confirmed that these translations are correct. So this is the best way to look at it right here. The first thing is, it looks like there isn't going to be AI soldiers just randomly scattered in buildings throughout the map. And that was one of the complaints that a lot of us had. We just felt like that was an unnecessary change. Like, it was just kind of weird that you would enter a building and there's just one single random AI character standing in the middle of the room like an idiot. It just seemed really out of place and strange to have that in the game. Whereas the second point here mentions that AI soldiers will still be in the stronghold areas on the map. And that's exactly what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see AI completely eliminated from the equation. I just think if they're going to be on the map and if they're going to be involved with things, it should make more sense. It should be more deliberate when it comes to their placement, and strongholds are the perfect area for that. So with those 2 points, I think that's great, and I'm quite happy to see that. As for the next point here, apparently they are now going to be including loadouts and perks, or at least they're playtesting that for Warzone 2, because in the build that we played, we had no access to loadouts or perks. Now, in the buy stations, it looked like there was functionality to buy specific weapons, and then you could upgrade those weapons, but you couldn't get a loadout drop like we have in Warzone 1. And also, as far as I could tell in the build we played, there were no perks at all. There was no way of getting a perk in the game. And this really didn't seem to fly very well for the really dedicated Warzone fans. Of course, loadout drops are a huge part of the DNA of Warzone, and it's one of the biggest things that separates Warzone from other Battle Royale games on the market. So when I saw the fact that we didn't have access to loadouts when we played the game, I was honestly kind of shocked, and I knew there would be a ton of backlash against this. But having said that, there was at least a small part of me that was interested in seeing how this would play out without loadouts, while still providing the ability to get the guns and attachments that we want through a buy station. Now, I didn't think it was a flawless implementation the way they had it in the build that we played, plus the build that we played was fairly limited. We didn't have access to all the features. But this is an area where I'm actually seeing a lot of a clash between people that love loadouts and people that wanted to play with the mechanics of Warzone but didn't really like the loadout aspect of it. They wanted to see how Warzone would play with more traditional BR looting mechanics. So when it comes to this point, of course, I think it makes sense for them to bring the loadouts back in. I feel like if they don't, they could be pushing away some of their most dedicated fans that absolutely love the loadout drops. Otherwise, they would just play other Battle Royale games. But at the same time, I hope they're still willing to explore the idea of at least providing a no loadout mode for those players that want to try exploring a more traditional Battle Royale option. For me personally, when it comes to loadouts, I can sort of take them or leave them. I'm not overly invested into Warzone anymore. I had a ton of fun for the first year or so of the game. And then for me, I kind of got bored with the game. Also, I felt like things became way too overcomplicated with all the weapon metas because they kept adding more guns, which is one of the issues with having loadout drops in the game, is ensuring that you always have decent weapon balance as you're constantly adding more and more guns. So for me, honestly, I can take it or leave it. Give me loadouts, great. I'll play it a little bit. Take the loadouts away, and again, I'll still play the game. It'll be a different style of game, but I will play it. So when it comes to this, like I said, I think it would be great if they at least offered the option for a more traditional Battle Royale mode with no loadout drops so that people could see this for themselves and get their hands on it, because I know there were actually a lot of people that were excited after seeing the gameplay of Warzone 2 because they wanted that more traditional Battle Royale experience. At the end of the day, though, in order to keep the identity of Warzone, I do think it's important for them to bring some kind of a loadout drop back into the experience, at least for the standard modes in the game. As for his final point from his tweet here, it looks like they are playtesting the old looting system where when you open a crate, all the loot just pops out on the ground and then you pick up what you want and you leave behind what you don't want. And this, I feel, would be better, especially for the controller players out there. I found that menu system to be a little bit strange while playing, where you go to open a crate and then you have to like access an inventory, then you have to do your inventory management and everything. it just felt unnecessarily slow and complicated. It felt like a step back, at least as a controller player. I know as a mouse and keyboard player, things will be different because you can just click on what you want. You don't have to be scrolling through things. But it looks like they are now playtesting using the normal Warzone looting system, and I think that's a good thing based on my limited experience with Warzone 2. And that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this tweet. However, just to take this a step further, I did want to point out that Tom Henderson, who is quite a reliable insider in the community, he mentioned that from his sources, we should be cautious about this, and not because they're completely false. In fact, he says that his sources confirmed that they are playtesting this, but that's the thing. They are currently just playtesting these changes and ideas. They are not locked in for launch. So we may or may not see these changes implemented for the launch of Warzone 2 on November 16th. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's video, and this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. What do you think about the fact that they're already playtesting these changes for Warzone 2? After seeing us play Warzone 2 at the Call of Duty Next event, are you happy to see that they're reacting to feedback so quickly? Or were you maybe excited to try out that version of the game to see what you think about it for yourself? Also, what's your take on the whole loadout drop situation? Do you guys think that loadout drops should always stay with Warzone because it's a core part of the DNA? Or do you think they should try something completely different here? Or maybe should they just try out a separate mode that doesn't have loadout drops while still keeping the standard modes with loadout drops equipped? Just let me know all of those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.